get from Marsh Farm to Dalla Road. So it's been a bit of a stressful journey. Anyway, alhamdulillah, I'm here now. We can begin. So today's show is Gaza and Sudan. And it's obviously a very delicate situation in both countries. But I've got some questions that I want to ask the community. Okay. And before I do that, I think it's important that we give a little bit of a background to both Gaza and to Sudan. Now, with Gaza, most of us would have a good idea, if not remember all the dates and stats of when treaties were signed and everything else, but we have a good idea of what happens in Gaza and who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. Yeah. So we have a good idea about that. I don't think we are very well equipped. And I've been trying to research this and do a little bit of homework on Sudan for a while now. I actually wanted to do this show a few weeks ago, but I just didn't feel prepared. And even now, I've done a bit of research, and I still feel like I've got a lot to learn on it. So, if anyone else out there is sort of well informed on Sudan, then please text or call in, because by no means I'm an authority on this topic. Anyway, so when it comes to Gaza, inshallah, most of us know that there was a build up between 1948 of Jewish people leaving Europe, fleeing the Nazi regime and moving then to Palestine. Before 1936, I think or 1937, something like that, I think the Jewish population in Palestine was about 6%. Coming up to 1940, 1945, 1946, it was coming up to 33%. And then after that, it went up hugely. And then there was a Nakba. I think that was in 1948, which translates to a catastrophe for the Palestinian people. And then there was basically a Jewish takeover or a Zionist takeover of the land of Palestine, and then Palestinians were pushed into the West Bank and to Gaza. And from then on, we kind of know the story and how it's been sort of transpiring and everything else. So we tend to have a good or a base understanding of the situation in Gaza, and probably many reasons for that. It's been in the media quite a lot. It's an issue that's close to our hearts as well. The people of Gaza are close to our hearts, and it's not the same with Sudan. Now, my question is this, and I'm going to come to this question in a minute. Okay, but firstly, before I do that, I want to have a little brief information about Sudan, because lots of stuff I didn't know, and I've only been reading up on it today and last week and things like that. Okay, so I want to have a little thing, but there doesn't seem to be the coverage of what's going on in Sudan like there is in Gaza. There doesn't seem to be, though there isn't the coverage. Not that there doesn't seem to be, there isn't. Okay, yet the numbers of the people that are being unalived in Sudan are, not that we're playing the numbers game, but is way more than in Gaza. We are talking 10 to 12 million people displaced since 2021. 10 to 13 million people. That's more than the population of London, Luton, and Birmingham combined. Okay, that's a huge amount of people. That's a huge amount. That's more people than live in Canada. That's more people than live in Ireland than Canada combined. It's huge. So this is the sort of numbers that we're talking. However, I want to know why that is. Is that just that we don't know? Or is that there is, I don't know, I would dare to say, some racial prejudice in the Muslim community, where obviously the people of Sudan are African, Black African. There are some North Sudanese who are Arab Sudanese, and they are still dark, but they wouldn't be as darker skinned as the people in the south or the west of Sudan. Is it that, or have I got that wrong? I don't know. I would like to think I got it wrong. I would like you to correct me on that. I would like to, but is it? There seems to be an unequal response to the two catastrophes. I'm not taking anything away from Gaza. I mean, I have been, alhamdulillah, able and privileged enough to raise money for Gaza on a daily basis for the last year and a half, and I will continue to do so. And I'm also now raising money for Sudan. There's a link in my bio, a story in my bio, and a link in my bio right now on my Instagram and my Instagram, and it's up on my YouTube and it's up on my TikTok. But you can find it on my Instagram, Ali Wijal, where you can donate 100% towards Sudan. Okay. So both of them are close to me. Okay, I've got a text message already. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Aki. UAE is responsible for Sudan. Not totally. No, I get what you're saying, but I'm going to come to that. What I want to do is go through the history of, and because it's a mess out there. I can promise you. All right. But anyway, the brother is saying, is UAE is responsible for Sudan? No, not simply put like that. They are a player in Sudan, and they are backing. Let me tell you who they're backing. They are backing the RSF, which is the Sudanese Armed Forces. Okay, they're backing them, but they're not the only ones backing them. And the other side is being backed, and the other side is the RSF, which is the Rapid Support Forces, are being backed by other Gulf states. Okay, so it's a bit too simplistic to say that one country is responsible for this, because I'm telling you now, bro, lots of countries have their hands in this. Lots of countries have got their hands in this. And the research that I've been doing, okay, I'm happy to be corrected. Anyway, could that be one of the reasons why the Ummah look the other way? People love to hold Dubai, etc., so they never boycott, speak out. Yeah, I'm not denying that, bruv. To be quite honest with you, I'm not going to deny what you said there. But it's when you look into this, and in a few moments, inshallah, I will go through the little research that I've done, and it will open up another sort of can of worms, if you know what I mean. All right. There's another brother, Joe, has texted in the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians by Salam's bro Papa, brilliant documents. So that documents the okay, I can't quite make sense of that text message, bro. It seems to jump from one to the other. The ethnic cleansing of Palestine by Salam's bro. Yeah, okay. I don't know what he's done with that. So now the brother Dominic, I think that is, sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I do not believe them being African is also one of the reasons. Black people, Muslims are not one of the most oppressed groups on earth. We are also guilty of this. I do believe. So he's saying, I do believe them being African is also one of the reasons that we're not talking about it so much, or it's so popular, as it were. Black people, Muslims are not one of the most oppressed groups on earth. I agree with that. We also guilty of this. Yeah, I got a horrible feeling that is playing a part. I don't want to feel that feeling, because I don't have anything like this in my heart. Alhamdulillah. I feel pain for, I don't know who they are, black, white, brown, whatever. It doesn't bother me. Okay, if they're in pain and they're in suffering and they're going through it, then I feel for that, you know. And that's, every human heart should have that. I don't even care what religion they are, to be quite honest with you. Okay, I think it's not. There's another one, NM, who's just his letters. The letters. Oh, it might be a sister. I think it's not as well documented as what's happening in Palestine for a few videos on social media. It's not as much on social media, and the stuff that you do see on social media is absolutely heartbreakingly horrific. I've never seen anything like it. It stopped me sleeping. I saw some videos a week or so ago. I literally couldn't sleep that night. I was having unpleasant dreams. It was that bad. Okay, and I think if you're a human being, that will affect you. And we're all desensitized to these type of things on our social media feeds, because we see it so many years now. Things that we would never have seen in the past on our social media platforms. Okay, so Joe Slams wrote the ethnic cleansing of Palestine by Happy, brilliantly documented the Nakba. Okay, brother Shafi of political archway channels, not a great detail of Sudan issues. Okay, yes. Yeah, so if I can't read the texts very well, guys, I do apologize. But sometimes text messages, when you're writing them, you think everyone can make sense of them, but they don't often make a lot of sense when you read them out. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of history of Sudan. Like I said, most of us know the history of Gaza to some level or another. Okay, most of us have some understanding of what's happened in Gaza, and it's nice and easy for us to get our heads around, because there's a good guy and there's a bad guy. Okay, there's a civilian population, and there's one of the world's most militarily advanced armed forces in the world on the other side. So it's very easy, clean cut for us to know what is kind of happening on that. Okay, now when it comes to Sudan, there was a leader there, a brutal dictator called Omar Bashir. Okay, and he was a brutal dictator, And in 2003 to 2008, this Omar Bash also committed a genocide in West Sudan against Black African Sunni Muslims with the support of a general at the time called Hamadan. Okay. And there was a reported 300,000 people slaughtered in that attack over that amount of years from 2003 to 2008. So he was a brutal dictator. Okay. And his name was Omar Bashir. Okay. Now in 2019, he was ousted by a coup, a military coup, revolution or overthrow, or whatever you want to call it, involving Mohammed Hamadan, I think. And he was the leader, or is the leader, of the Rapid Support Forces known as the RSF. Also with him was another general called Abdul Fattah al-Burhan, and he is the leader of the SAF, or the Sudanese Armed Forces. So these two generals overthrew the then dictated leader of Omar Bashir, okay, in 2021, okay? In 2019, sorry. And now in 2021, these two forces who sort of shared power, okay, had started fighting with each other. They started fighting with each other, and this caused the 10 to 30 million refugees to flee their homes. So from 2021, these two groups, the RSF and the SAF, have been at war with each other. They've been at loggerheads with each other, okay? Now, these are two military groups, or what do you call them? Military groups, or anyway, they're two military groups that are now at war with each other, okay? So who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and who are we supposed to support in this situation, okay? Like the brother said, he said that the UAE are responsible for this. And looking at it simplistically, you would think that. And I'm not saying that they not have a responsibility. I'm not saying they don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that's a wrong statement, but it's a simple statement. There is no good guys here. There is only bad guys. Both of this, RSF and SAF, are both not good. They are both committing crimes, okay? Both of them. One seems to be worse than the other. However, none of them are good guys. There's not a good side and a bad side here. There's just a bad side and a more bad side, as it were, okay? Militia groups. They're two militia groups. That was the word I was looking for, okay? SubhanAllah, okay? So, like I said, we're in this issue now. So there is no good guys. Now, the logistics, the terrain in the south of Sudan, where you get the African Christians, they seem to populate the south of Sudan. The north of Sudan is populated by Arab Sudanese, okay? And the west of Sudan is populated by African Muslims, Sunni Muslims, okay, in the west, okay? Now, it's important to understand that in the west of Sudan, that's where the gold mines are, okay? That's the money pot there, okay? But it's not the only important logistic place in Sudan. It's a very rich place, but it's not the only place, okay? Because that's in the west of Sudan. Ain't any good to anyone unless you hold the seaports, okay? You need the seaports, okay? So there is, you know, like a strategic thing there, okay? So in the west of Sudan, there are the gold mines. And so that's where the talk about UAE is funding it, because they're funding the side that's in control of the west of Sudan, okay, where the gold mines are. Now, the RSF, okay, and the RSF, just to keep you updated with this, is the Rapid Support Forces, have been successful in taking Khartoum before this, which is, I think, the capital. It's in the center of Sudan, and it's on the River Nile, the Upper Nile, as we would know. It was the south of the River Nile, the southern part, which is the capital located in the middle. Yeah, okay, the River Nile. This is the cause. Now, the RSF has been the main cause lately of the mass migration from the center and the west out of there. They're committing horrendous things, okay, okay, in that area. So from the center to the west, that's where a lot of the people now are. I don't know what the word I can use on the radio, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. And there are a lot of people are fleeing that, okay? They are a brutal militia group, okay? This is the RSF. Now, the SAF have had some success recently. They also now control the port of Sudan, okay? And the port of Sudan is strategically and militarily vitally important, because whoever controls that can control potentially the Red Sea. and the traffic of trade that goes into the Mediterranean via the Suez Canal, and the traffic that goes from the Mediterranean into the Indian Ocean and China and everywhere else. Okay, so it's very strategically important. Okay, I've heard people say, I'm going to read out a text message, brother. I find myself, this is brother Dominic. Brother, I find myself at an odds regarding Sudan. I've been trying my best to boycott for Palestine, but knowing that our own brothers and sisters are involved in Sudan worries me. This is a worry because it's a Muslim on Muslim thing. Christians are dying out there too, but it's the Muslims killing Muslims. This is not a good guy, bad guy situation. This is a bad guy, worse bad guy. And it's sickening. Not that anyone should kill anyone. Look, no one should be killing anybody, right? Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, Rastafarian, Scientologist, no one should kill anyone. Okay? But when it's Muslim killing Muslim, where do you stand? This is why we're quiet on it. I believe this is one of the reasons we're quiet on it as well. I've heard people say that we should be boycotting the UAE and Saudi, etc., etc. But how do you know? But how do you, when you're a Muslim, especially the latter? Well, this is it. This is where we're getting ourselves into. We have to have honest conversations. We have to be straight up with each other. We have to be straight up with ourselves. Okay. So I'll come to that in a minute, brothers. It's good that you're texting me because it does help me. So the SAF have now had some success, and they have now taken the port of Sudan, and they are now, I think they have control of Khartoum, which is the capital, which used to be held by the RSF. So they've had some support now, and they are pushing back in. Okay. Now, the SAF, the ones that are pushing back in from the seaport, they are backed by Turkey, Egypt, and Iran, who are providing drone support and drone technology and other types of support, where the RSF don't have that type of technology and have that type of support. So they're starting to lose ground. Now, the RSF, who is in charge or was in charge of Khartoum and the West, they are supported by the UAE. Okay. And it's the UAE that support them. Although during the uprising and during the rebellion against the first ruler, the UAE was supporting the SAF. It's getting really complicated, I know. But that was the other side. But now they've switched sides and they're now supporting the RSF, okay, which is short for Rapid Support Forces, okay? This is why it's not straightforward, guys. It takes a long time to put a show like this on, okay? So we've got 30 seconds to the break. So I want to try and push through this. So they're trying to portray the other side as the bad guys. The other side is trying to portray them as the bad guys. But I think the RSF are the ones at the minute which are doing the worst of the worst. They're all bad, but these are more bad than the others, if you could imagine that. Okay. And so we are now the UAE. So why are the UAE involved? And I'll get into that after the break, inshallah, because there's a lot to go into, guys. Yeah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. See you after the break, inshallah.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
सूरज की किरणों से चमके सारा जहां, इंस्पायर एफएम की लहरों से महके सारा समा, रहे आपके साथ यहां और वहां, शेयर रेडियो इंस्पायर एफएम है।
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton? For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Lee Grade Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and megaflow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. or log on to leegrave.net. We're an Interpart-approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Leegrave Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس شيء أكرم على الله من الدعاء that there is nothing more honored in the sight of Allah than supplication.
Celebrate in style at the Grand Royale, Luton's premier banqueting hall, offering elegance, luxury and seamless event planning. Host up to 750 guests with top-tier catering, stunning decor, photography, videography, hair and makeup, DJ, dance floor and expert event management, all under one roof. Whether it's a wedding, birthday or corporate event, let's witness the happy family moments together. Call 01582 551913 or visit grandroyale.co.uk today.
It doesn't take much to bring some difference. You give some change, which makes a change. Because nothing gets mileage like a charity. Just a little change turns into a chain. And before we know it, the results are massive. So give a little to make a big difference. For donations, call now. UKIM 0207 387 2157.
इस्लामी नुक्ता निगाह से इल्मी और फिक्री मौज़ूआत का जायजा, इस्लाम की इंसानियत साज़ तालीमात का ख्याल अफरोज़ तज़किरा, रवादारी और बक़ाए बामी क़ज़ामिन, फ़िक्र व नज़र की तत्हीर और अख़लाक़ी बालीदगी पर मबनी मौज़ूआत पर ताक़ीकी गुफ्तगू, वक्त, हालात और माहौल के तकाज़ों के मुताबिक समाजी इस्लाह क़ज़ामिन। सुनते रहिए और सवालात पूछिए। इंस्पायर FM पर प्रोग्राम सदाए तकदीर हर बुध दिन 11 बजे प्रोफेसर मसूद अख्तर हज़ारी के साथ।
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the break. I got another message here. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I love you. I love to hear you show. I'm from all the way from Atlanta, USA. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. From Atlanta, USA. That might be the furthest away listener that I've had on the show. Alhamdulillah. You're welcome, bruv. So let's get back into this now before I get into the question. So, like I said, the UAE, so here we go. The UAE are supporting the RS. So the UAE are supporting the RSF, and they've been doing that since 2019. Now, why are they supporting them? Why is it so important that they back them up and not the others? Why don't they all pick one side? Because in 2015, the RSF was the main troop set into Yemen to fight the Houthis. Okay. Now, this was with the backing of the Saudi Arabian government and the UAE government. Okay. Now, that went back to 2015, because when Saudi and these other countries go to war, they tend to use African troops, not their own. All right. So that's why they backed them initially back then. Okay. From before that, they backed the other side. Then they swapped sides when they was going to Yemen. The UAE swapped sides when they were going to Yemen. Okay. Now, supporting for the UAE to support the RSF, okay, gives them access to the gold mines and the west of Sudan, and it gives them a play in that area, because that Sudan is a very powerfully placed country, very rich, has a lot of, like, beside that, there's just desert, you know, like you got the Sahara Desert, and above that you got Egypt. So it's a key place for the east of Africa, and any trade that comes out of Africa that needs to go to China or India or anywhere like that, Japan, it comes through Sudan. Okay, so it's a very important strategic place to hold. Now, when we're talking strategic places to hold, that's why the UAE are supporting the RSF. Also, Israel has a play in this. They have their play in this too, okay? And they play this alongside, so they are alongside the UAE. They tend to keep this quiet because they're also friends with Saudi Arabia, diplomatic friends at least. So you have, on one side, you have supporting the RSF, you have Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, Iran, okay? And on the other side, supporting the RSF, I get confused with these letters now, you have UAE and Israel, And that's all confusing. So basically, the two sides are supported by one side. The RSF is supported by UAE and Israel, and they're controlling the West. The other side, the SAR, are supported by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and Iran. So there's no good guys here. This is very cloudy waters. And is this part of the reason why we don't know much about it? Because it's not in anyone's in the Muslim world's interest to make all this known, is it? You know what I mean? So you have to sort of dig a bit to find this out. You have to dig a bit to find this out. So, or is it any of that? Or is it the fact that because of the humanitarian situation here, I've got written down this conflict has created over 10 million people have been forced to leave their homes. Around half of Sudan's population, 25 billion people, now need humanitarian aid. 25 million people, that's more than the population of most countries, a lot of countries at least. Basic services have collapsed, hospitals destroyed, food supplies cut, water shortages are severe. Famine-like conditions, where it's actually famine now, are emerging in parts of Darfur and Kufudan due to blocked aid routes and ongoing violence. Aid agencies describe Sudan as one of the worst humanitarian crises to ever be spoken about. That's how serious it is. I don't think it gets more serious. Well, I don't know. Every time I say something like that, something more serious comes up. Okay, so the global media attention on Sudan has been limited compared to conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza. Okay, which yes, we hear a lot about Ukraine. We do hear a lot about Gaza, but we don't hear much about Sudan. Maybe because so many countries have got their hands in it. And no one is innocent. Okay. And the brothers, Denmark, the UAE wants Sudanese gold and things like that. When it comes to boycotting, brother, we can't really say that on a radio station. I can't read the messages out because boycotting could be seen as biased, and we have rules how what we can say on a radio station. Whether I agree or disagree with you personally, if I don't read them sort of texts out, it's because we're not allowed really to talk about that stuff. Okay. Many Sudanese activists say that this reflects a bias. Okay. So just Sudanese now are saying this reflects a bias, how African crises are covered, that the suffering of Black African nations are often underreported. I'm going to agree with that. I don't know how I can disagree with that. Yeah, they are. African crises are underreported. I don't know. I don't think anyone. That's a fact. I'm gonna say there's a fact. Okay, you can disagree with me. Okay. What did it? Okay. So community, and this. So the Sudanese diaspora in the UK, the community, I suppose that means, you should have just written community. Okay, especially in London and Birmingham and Manchester, has been active in fundraising for protests and awareness and campaigns. It doesn't seem to have got very far, unfortunately. Local Sudanese community groups often highlight an emotional toll of watching loved ones trapped in war zones with little communication. I bet they do. That must be horrific for them. It's bad enough watching it when you don't know anyone there. It must be unimaginably upsetting to know that you have family and friends there and you don't know, and you can't get hold of them. You know what's going on. You just know that there's this stuff going on. Faith groups, mosques, and charities have also played a key role in providing humanitarian aid. Yeah, I like now, if you go onto Al Rijal Instagram, on my story, there is a link to 100% donation policy to Sudan. In my bio, there's a link to it as well. Okay, I do videos for them, inshallah, to try and collect money for them and everything else. But it's it's not a lot, in the sense of what we need to do a lot more. My opinion is we need to do a lot more. Human empathy and awareness. Why is Sudan not getting the global attention of other conflicts? That's one question I'm asking you guys. How do we keep caring about issues that feel far away? Well, as Muslims, this is a question written down here, by the way. Well, as Muslims, if one of the ummah is hurting, then we're all hurting. If one part of the body hurts, then we all hurt. Yeah, we should know that. However far it is away, or whatever the furthest point in this planet away is, if there's a Muslim in problems or pain there, then we should, as a community, feel that. That's part of our belief structure, and we need to be, we don't need to just be thinking that these guys are close to us, so therefore we feel more for them than we do someone further away. It doesn't work like that. This dunya belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everyone in it, every Muslim in it is precious. Every human being in it is precious, actually. So what can we do here locally to support the Sudanese? Okay, does anyone have any ideas what we can do locally as a community? Should we be helping them? Should we be helping the Sudanese community to bring awareness to this? Should we be supporting the charitable events and fundraisers? anything that we can do as a community, like we have been, to help the people of Gaza, and we should also continue to help the people of Gaza. But is there anything that we could do as well for the people of Sudan? I'm asking the questions in the community. You can come back to me with your suggestions. Okay, racism and equality is a global problem. Is the lack of attention to Sudan partly about race and geopolitics? I would say definitely it's about race and geopolitics, because if that was happening in Europe, then I'm telling you now, the world wouldn't be able to sleep through news of that coming out. If that was happening in Ukraine, and we don't want it to happen anywhere, by the way, but if it was happening anywhere in Europe, a white country like Ukraine, then I think it would be, you wouldn't be hear anything else on the news. And that would be right. You shouldn't. This should be very predominant on the news, but we don't hear much of it. Maybe my suspicion is because they're Africans and they're black. That's just my personal suspicion, and I find that sad. I just find it sad that people think like that, Muslims or non-Muslims. I just find it really sad and disheartening how people can make a difference like that. I don't make a difference like that. I'm not saying I don't make a difference to make myself sound all holier than holy and pious and caring, but I just don't. I just don't see being African makes you less entitled to attention when you're going through this type of catastrophe. I don't know. Maybe I'm strange. I hope I'm not. Okay. Hospitals, schools, and markets destroyed. Yeah. Aid. They are blocking aid. Aid blocks and obstruction humanity. Now, the thing is that what are they? The RSF are said to be blocking aid coming in. I'm not sure whether the other one, the SAF, are stopping it as well, but there's definitely reports on the news, for whatever reports we do get, that they are stopping aid getting in. Okay, which is causing the famine. Okay, children. I mean, school. I mean, let's say here, nearly 19 million children out of school due to the conflict. I would imagine, as bad as that is, that's probably lower down on their scale of priorities. Going to school, staying alive, is probably top of it. So where do we go, guys? You know, as the community, are we responsible for not paying as much attention to Sudan because they are African, black African, or have I got that wrong? And is it the fact that there's a lot of other Muslim countries in that part of the world, if not all of them, have got their hands in this as well? Why it's being played down? I don't know. I'm asking you the question. You're the audience. This is Speaker's Corner. You're supposed to speak. Okay. I think it's probably a mixture of the two. I think it's probably a mixture of the two. And the fact that it's a Muslim on Muslim for the most part, I'm not saying that Christians are not suffering as well, and non-Christians, whatever they might be, denominations of African tribes or whatever. But it seems a lot of it seems to be Muslim on Muslim crime and atrocities. Now, how do we deal with that? Where do we go with that? How do you face that? I don't know. I'm asking questions. You guys got a couple of answers. My personal opinion is very clear. I mean, you know, I've said what I think. I want to hear what you think. Okay, so we've got now a text message, but it just says start with the pen. Sister email. She's typing now. Hopefully she's going to add to that text message, because that would be a little bit ambiguous. You know, I don't know how to put something on that. So is it racial? Is it geopolitical that the Saudis, the UAE, Turkey, Egypt, and probably Iran and Iran and other people out there, Israel, they all seem to be in this for control. They all seem to, because there's gold there, there's strategic importance there for the Red Sea, Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean Ocean. I don't know. So they all seem to have that play in it. So like when the brother said in the beginning, it's the UAE. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's not the complete story, if you know what I mean. And I'm not taking sides here, because I think it's all bad. Write about it, raise awareness constantly. Okay, well, that's a start. Write about it. But the Sudanese may want something a bit more immediate than that. Because people, if you want to hide the truth from people, you put it in a book. You know, that seems to be the best place to hide things, is in a book. Okay, because people never really read anything. What do you think about Muslims? What sort of question is that? If someone's just texting, what do you think about Muslims? Well, I am a Muslim, so what do you think I think about Muslims? Generally speaking, I get along quite well with them, being one myself. Anyway, subhanAllah, that's where I get. That's the sort of text messages I've got to deal with on there, guys. You know what I mean? And I need a little bit more than that, all right? So what do we do? I mean, you know, do we go on marches? Do we should we, if anyone for the Sudanese community is out there and they listen to this, please contact me. Please, I would love you to come on this show and air your opinions of what you know is going on out there, because I don't know a great deal. I've done some research, but it's very superficial research, and I'll give you all the airtime you want to tell us what we need to do to help you guys. What can we do? What do you need us? I'm assuming you need everything, but what would you want us to do? What's the starting point for us? Sending out aid? Can we get aid in the country? I know where I'm sending the fundraisers that I'm doing. Alhamdulillah, I think they're catching them when they go to the camps in Egypt. Then they make they flee and get into the camps in Egypt, and then we can look after them there. I'm not sure how we get into Sudan itself, whether you can get aid into there, but I'm certain that we getting it in MATW are getting it in Egypt, inshallah. And so Denmark is, I agree with you on it being a racial. Black people in Palestine are also often forgotten about. I heard that. I don't know how true it is. I would not like to think it's true, but just because I don't know to think something's not true, guys, it doesn't mean that it's not true. I'm always trying to look for the best in people, and I would not like that to be the case. But I got a funny feeling it's two things going on why we ain't talking about this. I wanted to do this show 3 weeks ago, by the way, but I just wouldn't feel equipped enough with information to sit here and talk about it. And the more you learn about it, the more confusing it is. Everyone's got something going on in this part of the world, in this country. And as much as the Muslims like to blame the West for lots of different things, and possibly rightly so, we're not innocent either. Our rulers, because we don't have leaders. The Muslims have rulers, not leaders. They're not worthy of leaders. They're rulers. Okay, they rule over the Muslims. They don't lead them. They're not innocent either. In my opinion, they're not innocent either. Obviously, they're not innocent. You got them backing this and backing that. So is that why it's being played down? Sometimes we have to eat our own medicine, guys. Sometimes we have to be, accept that we are no different to anyone else when it comes. Our countries are no different to other countries sometimes. There is no good guys and bad guys in this world anymore. Sometimes I feel like that, I feel a bit, bloody hell, this is different. This is difficult. There's no, there doesn't seem to be any shining examples, subhanallah. So yeah, I believe that a lot of it is because there are Muslim countries involved in the play of this. This is like their battleground, and it's complex. They've using somebody's forces before to go and do fighting in Yemen, and then they went and backed the other side, but the other side still backed them. It's not clear cut. Nothing is clear cut in this world nowadays. Everything's murky and muddy. Everything's unclear sometimes. And that's how I feel. And then the other side of it is the Muslim community. Does the Muslim community have so the brother just texted, so the one that said, what do I think of Muslims? He said, he's sorry, bro, I'm confused with something else. Sorry, no problem, bruv. I'm the king of being confused. So when you're confused, bruv, trust me, I'll probably be more confused than you on a daily basis. But no problem, brother. Alhamdulillah, it's no problem. Okay, I agree with you on this. Okay, then brother Denmark is texting again. Could it also be the powers of all these countries putting their propaganda together? Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's going to play a part. Of course it is, yeah. Israel is struggling with public opinion, but with that, many countries at play Sudan, with many countries at play in Sudan, is lot more effective. Yeah, it's kind of hard to point the finger at someone doing something wrong when you're doing something wrong as well. And this is where I said we have rulers, not leaders. Because leaders lead. They have an honor. They lead you with honor. They lead you in righteousness. They lead you in good. Or rulers just rule. And I suppose that's because Muslims deserve that at the minute. As an ummah, we are not fulfilling our responsibilities and doing our job as Muslims properly with and connecting and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ways that are correct in a lot of cases. And sometimes we have to reap what we sow, but yeah, I'm afraid that is a part of it. Okay, I got a text message here on WhatsApp. We need to constantly vocalize and raise awareness with all generations globally. Then we need to raise funds and raise resources and have them ready, because at some point they will have to allow aid to go through, just as it was the case with the Gaza. Like I said, I don't know how much aid is getting through at the minute, I do know they're getting it through to the other countries though, like Egypt and other countries around there. So the refugees that are going there, they are being provided for, alhamdulillah, with shelter, food, medicine, clean water, and everything else, alhamdulillah. And if, like I said, link in my bio, you can donate 100% to them now. And that charity is 100% donation policy, and that there's a fundraiser there for Sudan. Okay, but yeah, I think what this is a sister, what she said there. Okay, we do need to do all of those things, and we haven't been. Are you still bringing Dilly on from 5 Pillars? Yes, Dilly is still on. I do communicate with the brother reasonably regularly. He's very busy. He's very active, and coming through Luton traffic. He lives in Bedford anyway, so he's not that far away from us. But he is coming on. He's just sometimes he's a bit sporadic, and he has apologized for his delay. He was meant to be here a couple of weeks ago, and he hasn't made it so far, but he's going to make it, inshallah. I'm seeing him on the 7th of December in London. He's hiring out a place in London to get something going. Some good news coming out of the community for once. Alhamdulillah, we're going to have some good news coming out of the community. You know, we're all trying to fight this anti-Muslim narrative in this country. I don't want to go off topic because it's about Sudan and Gaza, but you mentioned Dilly from 5 Pillars, so I'm just going to briefly talk about that. We've all been trying to fight it in our own independent ways. The Tommy Robinson narrative and this anti-Muslim narrative that's being really predominant in this country now. Now, the reverts are coming together. Alhamdulillah, we're coming together on a planned, structured thing, and alhamdulillah, the brother Dilly is organizing the meeting and everything else. So let's see what comes out of that, guys. Hopefully some, because we're up against news channels, multi-billionaires, propaganda machines, and most of us are just doing it with our mobile phones and things like this. But alhamdulillah, Allah's on our side, so we will have success with it, but we do need to come together and put our heads together and do something structured and proper about that. So that answers the question about Dilly, but he will be on, inshallah. He will be on. Okay, he's just very busy, and I get that. I get he's busy. He's very active, mashallah. So yeah, so this is where we are, guys. I'm still asking the questions. I can sit here all day and ask questions. So you tell me: is it racial? Is it a mixture of race and geopolitical covering up? And why are we like this? I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm upset that this is happening, and we're not talking about it. Some of the stuff I've seen on my social media, guys, is just wow. It's just awful. The brothers text back again. You and Dilly would be a powerful tag team. Ha ha. Jazakallah khair for spreading out on these things and everything you do for us. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, brother. It's not for me. It's fisabilillah. It's no one person can do everything. Not me, not Dilly, not Jordan, not all the other brothers that are involved, Dais and your social media guys up and down the country. We can't do it all on our own. We have to do it together. Okay, so yeah, so we have to do it together. So guys, so what do we do about Sudan? Because this is the big question for the show today. What do we do? I want to know, do we start more fundraising, start more social media awareness, start talking about it, start talking to our MPs, start talking to our community leaders, to our masjids, to the committees of the masjids, to the imams, just like we do for Gaza, and we should continue to do for Gaza, but we also need to do something for Sudan as well, don't we? Is that not fair? I think it's fair. I think so. I mean, we are talking the population of London, Birmingham, and Luton, and probably a few other smaller towns have been displaced. That's 13 million. If there's 9 or 10 million that live in London, and there is like 1.5 million or so that live in Birmingham, or maybe 2 million, we still need to make up. It's still a lot of people, guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of people. And this is Muslim on Muslim. Is that why we don't talk about it? Are we embarrassed? Are we embarrassed that it's Muslim on Muslim and we don't want to mention it? Whereas with the other conflicts, like in Gaza, it's clearly a good guy and a bad guy for us. It's a clear-cut thing for us. But this isn't a clear-cut thing, is it? For me, it is. I think we need to be putting pressure on our leaders, yes. We need political pressure. They are not listening to us, and just was raising awareness. It's not working. again, are our political leaders really bothered? You know, is the Labour Party or the Conservative Party in this country really bothered what goes out in Sudan, what goes on in Sudan, especially when they don't seem to have much of a say in it? It's being predominantly interfered with by the countries around there. I don't think the Britain's got a great deal. I'm just hoping it works out for the best and they can do a deal with whoever turns out on top. I would imagine that's their say in it. The Americans have probably got warships in the area, so they'll always look after their resources there. But I don't know whether it's just that high up on their priority list. Okay, Rich Franklin has texted in. Let's be honest, it's a Muslim on Muslim. Okay, it's moved up a bit. Let's be honest, it's a Muslim on Muslim. It's a Muslim on Muslim, and they are black. And who really cares? I care. I hope that is just a tongue-in-cheek statement. Who really cares? Like as if to say because they're black, people don't care. But I care. So there's one person that I'm sure there's many others that do. This is why I'm doing a show on it, guys. You know, it's the UAE versus Muslims in Sudan. It's not that simple. It's not Ali saying it's the UAE versus Muslims in Sudan and Libya before it. It is and it isn't. It's not that simple. Like I say, there's no clear-cut good guy and bad guy here. And I'm not saying that I'm on the side of the UAE when I say that, because I'm not. I don't, you know, I try and stay on the side of right and who's the just, but it doesn't seem to me like anyone here is totally innocent. You know what I mean? Now the text messages are flying in. The Muslims are involved in genocide. Even Muslim leaders are involved in genocide. Look, I can't agree with that on a radio station, but I could see why someone would text that in, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm going to read out these texts as quick as they can, but try not to go too fast, guys. They'd be bothered all of a sudden if it was affected their pockets. Yeah, of course they would. Well, that's natural, isn't it? They would. In this country, the politicians would be bothered if it affected their pockets. We could ensure that their pockets hurt if we can together and make them listen to us. Not really, bruv. I don't believe in that. These type of things doesn't affect them. We've been doing this stuff for years and years, and it's never made a difference. Okay. Yeah, it was tongue-in-cheek. Alhamdulillah. I thought it was, bruv. But just to be sure, sometimes you can misunderstand someone's text message. Okay, I do it all the time. I text people and they come back and think I'm being funny with them, and I just meant it as a joke. Assalamu alaikum. Designed by elites, globally united. You say that would mean democracy is a democratic, theological lie. And a brother saying the Fritches, I rate you for talking about this. Alhamdulillah, bro. Look, we got to talk about it. I could have come in here and talk about anything, you know what I mean? But whatever life that we have on this planet and whatever platforms we have, we should try and use them for the right things, inshallah, even if they're not popular and even if they're uncomfortable. My social media is, and you know, alhamdulillah, I try and make that an example of that. Anyway, guys, there's a lot of stats and figures. I apologize, hard to keep up with. A few seconds left. Next week, we'll try and talk about something lighter. As-salam.